Hi, I'm Natasha Williams. I'm Master Life Coach and Transformation Coach. And today I would just share with you my story about my parents' addiction. And, a lot of people don't understand where do they get certain traits from, but it always comes from childhood. And this is just a story to explain, first of all, why I attracted certain people in my life, as well as why I'm so against drug use, because I was a first-hand victim. Not to say I was a victim, but I experienced it firsthand as the child of parents that were with drugs. And I tend to differ with people when it comes to allopathic medicine and homeopathic medicine. There's this divide where medical conflicts with natural remedies. And the reason for the divide is the way that medical works is they want to take out the symptom. They are band-aids. So, for example, if you've got a headache, take a tablet. If you have a cold, take antibiotics. If you have gangrene, cut the leg off. It's all just a focusing on the actual problem, and they don't see the body as a holistic thing. Whereas with homeopathy and natural approach, they see the body as a holistic expression of something deeper that's underlying. So let's say a person's depressed. Rather than just give somebody medication for the depression, they will go out and find out what is causing the depression. Is it a memory? Is it physical? Is it a lack of certain hormones? And then we treat the underlying cause. And the reason why the medical fraternity doesn't like to talk about it is probably because there's no money in that, but also people want gratification instantly. They want a cure-all right now. They don't want to wait. They don't want to take responsibility for their lives. They want somebody else to take ownership. So if I go to a doctor, I'm not going to leave the health up to me. I'm going to go to the doctor and he's going to tell me what's wrong with me. So getting back to my story, my parents, I had a average middle class upbringing, which I found out later wasn't really average. But my parents were going through a lot of stress, and my dad he went overseas. His father had a heart attack and he passed away. And when he came back, he got a heart attack as well. He was 38 years old. And the doctor told him he's very stressed, and he gave him anti-anxiety medication and tranquilizers. And because it comes from the doctor, what do? We be good citizens, and we take what the doctor says. There's very little side effects. It'll help you sleep better. And when my mom was going through stress, she also then started taking it. Now, at that time, I was about in my early teens, and my mom started getting stressed. And then my dad went into a business venture. He sold off whatever he owned in his business that he owned, where he was making quite good money. And he decided to build houses and own a hardware store. And that was at a time that the country was going through a lot of, the interest rates were going through the roof. There was a lot of layoffs, unemployment. There were a lot of riots happening. So people burnt his trucks. People weren't paying him. The interest rates were sky high. The people that did work for him didn't do right work. And it just snowballed into a position where he actually ended up losing everything. And this was over the course of an entire, I would say, my high school career. So growing up in a household where both my parents their method of coping was to take tranquilizers. Now, when I say drug addiction, just because it's been prescribed by a doctor who's got a license to give it, in my opinion, doesn't make it not a drug. It's still a drug. They weren't heroin addicts. They weren't alcoholics. They were meaning well. They did not know the side effects. But what I witnessed is they could have a conversation with me and not remember any of it. They were walking around in a daze. They couldn't function properly. They would take the pills. They wouldn't have a real sleep. It would just knock them out, and they'd wake up and they would still be tired. And then they would carry on their day. So they weren't actually taking ownership and taking responsibility for the situation that they found themselves in. They were just coping. And because they had so much stress in their life, as children, we were left to our own devices. So as things slowly got worse, we had less and less food. I had to get myself to school. My mother wasn't available. In fact, it got so bad that when I was in my final year of high school, we went on holiday. We actually were offered a place to stay at one of their friends' houses at the coast, which was really beautiful. And while we were driving down, my mother had taken so many antidepressants or anxiety meds that she actually was drooling. She was leaning forward in her seat. She was literally, it was running down her face. She was falling asleep at the dashboard. And when I got to the place, I said to her, I want my mother back. I'm not letting you take these things anymore. I'm taking it away. And she said, I really need it. And it was only then that she realized the impact of the dependence that she had on it, because it's addictive. It's highly addictive. And what happened was I took them from her. I really had to take a stand, and that was, of course, a start of me becoming the parent and rather than the child. But there was nobody available for me. And so if you've ever had parents that have been absent, I get it. I really do. And they can't even remember. They don't remember a lot of those years or what happened. They'd only remember the stress and the trauma of what they had to deal with. But as firsthand, I've always refused to take any kind of sleeping pill. I don't. And I just want you to understand the way that antidepressants work and the way that sleeping pills work is they inhibit a natural brain response. So they stop you from dreaming. A sleeping tablet will not allow you to dream. So you might go into I'm not sure what state, maybe a theta brainwave state, but you're not dreaming. And so you're not really getting a relaxing, rejuvenating sleep. And with antidepressants, it's actually your brain releases chemicals. So they release chemicals into your body that make you feel good. So they might release serotonin. And then it uptakes, the serotonin uptakes again into your brain, which then gets re-released. So it's like the cycle, the way the rain falls on the ground and gets reabsorbed into the sky. What happens is we don't have enough serotonin when we're depressed. So your body is serotonin deplete. And what these antidepressants do is they give you serotonin. And it's fake though, it's artificial. So your brain can't reuptake it because it's like comparing plastic to real plants, plastic plants to real plants. They don't really grow, they just look like plants. So your brain doesn't know the difference, your body doesn't know the difference, it responds to the serotonin. And so you take in the serotonin, but because you're giving it to your body, your brain doesn't have to release it anymore because you're getting it already artificially. So there's no more releasing of the serotonin. And then what happens is there's nothing to uptake. So your body becomes completely serotonin deplete. There's no more left. And if you decided to suddenly just stop taking it, that is when most people become suicidal or so badly depressed. That is why you can't just quickly take yourself off drugs like that, because you have to slowly wean yourself off them, slowly but surely go less and less and less, and it can take a matter of days, weeks, months even, depending on how many you are. And the truth is, taking those drugs does not fix the problem. My parents' financial problem was not resolved. If anything, they ended up losing their house, their car, their possessions, their friends, life as they knew it, and trust in themselves. And when you are witnessing that as a child and you can see how damaging it is, the last thing you're going to want to do is do the same. Well, some people end up doing it unintentionally because that's the subconscious way of handling it. But I have seen it. And the scary part is most of my clients that have come to me have been on antidepressants. And the reason they're on them is because the doctor's job is just to give you something that's immediate gratification that's going to make you feel better. They're not psychologists. They're not coaches. They don't have the time to go and find out about your history and where you went and what you did. And there's no money in it. And as medical doctors, they have been taught to dispense medicine. So again, it depends on where you go to. If I had a cold, if I went to a doctor, the doctor would prescribe antibiotics. That's what he would prescribe. He's not going to give me a headache pill, and he's certainly not going to give me homeopathic remedies. He's going to tell me that's quackery. If I went to a homeopath, he's going to tell me, why on earth are you taking antibiotics? You know they don't work. And the doctor will say, well, look, let's just take that in case. And it's a virus that your body will naturally fight and take off. Now, antibiotics kill the good bacteria in your body, and they kill your body's immune system and your body's ability to rejuvenate. Now, if I had a cold and I went to a priest and I said, look, I've got a cold, what do you think he's going to say to me? He's going to say, repent your sins, ask for forgiveness. And, you know, I mean, I'm just joking here, but maybe he might say, well, do 12 Hail Marys, or, you know, and it depends on where you go. And I say, look at what kind of treatment do you need? When you start taking responsibility for your life, that is where you start living your life empowered. You start living the best life you had. If my parents had sat down and said, what caused this? What started this? How can we avert potential whatever? They could have maybe sold off their house while it was still early days. They could have gone to their creditors, closed shop, moved house. They could have done so many other things. But instead, they just put their head in the sand and decided that they're going to keep doing the same thing that they always did. So drugs is not the answer. It's never an answer. And, you know, I believe in past lives and being reborn. And if you're going to not deal with it in this lifetime, it's going to come back and it's going to keep facing you until you learn to deal with it. And there's a cause for it. There's an underlying cause. There's an underlying cause why my parents couldn't look at their role in that. They had to blame the currency, the economy, the riots, everybody else except their part in it. And because they blamed, they couldn't take ownership. They couldn't do anything about it. And it's not their fault. They didn't know. They didn't have the tools. They were young. They might have learned from it now. But to me, it's always, what can I learn from this so that I don't keep repeating the same behavior? So I don't know where this video is actually going, but I hope that it maybe helps you to see maybe the difference between taking ownership and seeing what can you do about it, rather than just putting your head in the sand and not relying on drugs to get you out of a situation. There's a reason why you're taking drugs. And if you deal with the reason, you won't need the drugs, no matter how great they feel. Having a life that's drug-free is so much better because you're permanently on a high. There's no high that you go into this joy and love and not caring, and then when you come out of it, you rock bottom again, because that's when it hits you. It's consistent because you dealt with all that stuff. And as a coach, that is what I do. I help you clear that stuff. I'm not telling you to come to me. I'm just telling you that is critical in your healing. If you let go of all that dark stuff, that shadow side of yourself, you never need to take another drug. You don't need to drink. It'll be a choice that you make. I hope that helps you, and you have an awesome day.